We learn in the Mishnah, tractate Shekalim, page 3, but we learn in the Mishnah that in the 15th day of month of Adar, they do the preparations, such as metaknin et hadrachim, ואת הרחובות, ואת מקוואות המים, ועושים כל צורכי הרבים. What does that mean? They have an obligation, the Bet Din in those days, 15th day of month of Adar, which is close to the end of the year. If you remember, we discussed it many times, that the way that they count the years, they start on the month of Nisan. So since they start the month of Nisan, they have to have an advance 2 weeks of preparations. What type of preparations? We explained in the previous session what you have to do. In Israel there's not so much rain, so it was those special borot, special ways that they have those pipes that led to collect the rainy water during the winter time, and because of that they used to lock it at the 15th of Adar, which is close to the end of the winter, in order for to make sure that the whole process of preparation will be a proper way. And the key is once a year they need to clean and take out all the dirt and prepare those mikveot. Another thing they used to do a preparation of the roads, all those roads that we explained the previous session, that it was roads that need to use for the pilgrims, so they need to use for people who run for the rescue cities. So they have to prepare all of that. It's in a wrap-up in one line said, "Ve'osim kol tzorchei harabim," and they do all the public needs, public welfare. So now the Gemara asks, Elu en tzorchei harabim. Now go to the list of what is really a public welfare. So number 1, דנין דיני ממונות ודיני נפשות, דיני מכות ופודין ערכים וחרמין והקדשות. So it was a rules for those who violated Torah. They need to receive malkot. So it was the time that they have all these court cases, the judge of monetary cases, capital cases, malkot cases, redeems process, umashkin et sotah. It was a sotah that they did it at the time of Beit HaMikdash, following the instruction Parashat Naso. Uvesorfim et hapara, they burned the para aduma. That was part of the red heifer. They used to do it in a special way of sparkling those water to purify those people who are touched the corpse. Ve'orfin egla ufa, and they take and those slaughtering those egla ufa, that it's a neck of the heifer. And next one is ve'rotzin eved ivri, and they pierce the ear of the Hebrew slave. Umetaharin et hamtzora, and they purified the leper who was ritually impure. Umefarkin et hamin'al me'al gabei hamayim, and they removed the locks that were placed over the water certain during the winter. Ve'en machzirin oto, and do not replace them until the winter. So now the Gemara bringing a Mishnah in tractate Moed Katan, a challenge this one. Over there in Moed Katan, the beginning, we said mashkin beit hashlachim. During the Chol HaMoed we allow to take the field that needs a special watering by people. It's a irrigated field. So umetzainin al akvarot, and also it's important to put a mark on the grave. So they said lo chvar tzinu me'adar it's not the time already that they pointed the graves from the 15th of Adar. So why you need to do it again during the intermediate days of Pesach? So since we don't mention which intermediary days, we assume that it can be either Pesach or Sukkot. So the Gemara responds, V'tiftor, you explain this Mishnah, Shi'arad shetef shel gshamim ushtafo, that he said that where the downpour rained down after the grave were initially marked in Adar and washed away the previous marking. So another thing they said in the Mishnah, V'yotz'in alav akilaim, the shluchim, the agent of the Bet Din, they can go during the Chol HaMoed, even for the diverse kinds of food crops. So they said, Lo chvar yatzu me'adar, but didn't they already go out at the beginning of Adar to examine the field for diverse kinds? So that's the Mishnah already mentioned that. So why the Mishnah tells us in Moed Katan that they need to do again during Chol HaMoed Pesach to check if there is a diverse kinds in the field? They already did it in the 15th of Adar. So they have to say, Tiftor, you have to explain, Shaita Sheina Ashana Afeila, that year turns that all the fields came out late, Ve'ein Atzmachim Nikarim, which means since the crops had not yet sprouted by the beginning of Adar, the plants are not perceptible until later. So therefore, in this year, the emissary, the agent of the Bet Din, they go in Adar to check those fields, and the Mishnah teaches us that they go during the Chol HaMoed Pesach. So the Gemara asks, Minayin letziyun, how do you know that they need to mark all those graves? So the Gemara said, Rabbi Brechya ורבי יעקב בר בת יעקב בשם רבי נחוניה דברת חברים. All these name of rabbis that came from, some said Beit Choron, that close to Modi'in, between Modi'in and Yerushalayim. So they said, בשם, the name רבי יעקב בר אחא בשם רבי נחוניה דברת חברין רבי חזקיה ורבי זיאל ברד רב חוניה ברד חברן בשם רבי חוניה דברת חברן. All of them said it's written in regards to leper in the Vayikra, Leviticus 13, Vetameh, Tameh Yikra. So they said, the Mitzvah said, unclean, unclean. So what do we derive from that? כדי שתהא הטומאה קורא לך בפיה ואומרת לך פרוש. In order that the ritually impure object, in a case of leper, calls to you verbally, as it were, and tells you, separate yourself from it. Just as the leper warns everyone that he is ritually impure, one must likewise mark graves to warn everyone by their impure status. Rabbi Ila B'Shem de Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachman, he said, because it's written in Yechezkel 39, ועברו העוברים בארץ וראה עצם אדם ובנה אצלו ציון, because it's written, then they will pass through, shall pass through the land, and anyone sees a man born, they shall he set up a sign by it till the berries have buried it in the valley of Hamon Agog. So what are we doing? Derive from that. This verse said very clearly that there is a need to mark graves. You see, to this very day, that even the early stage we put a mark. So עצם מכאן שמציינים על העצמות. So even that the bone that of the dead body, so all of that carry a ritually impure. So they said they will mark those bones. Adam, מכאן שמציינים על השדרה והגולגולת. Even that it's only one bone, you have to mark the spine and the skull that were found, which means every single part. Uvana, because they said that then he set up, מכאן שמציינים על גבי אבן קבועה. So from here we derive that one marks the sign of ritual impurity on a fixed stone. For it is to say that one may mark im omerat al gabe even tlusha on the detached stone, afi holechet umetama b'makom acher, that very stone is likely to move from that spot, and it will incorrectly mark another place as ritually impure. So it's necessary to use a stone that will not be moved. Etzlo limkom tahara. By it, it's referred to a place of ritual impurity. In other words, the marking should not be placed on a spot of ritual impurities itself, but in a nearby ritually impure location. So the explanation here is, if you don't make it in a certain clear way, people will not find it. They don't know exactly where is the tziyun, where is the exact location. And therefore, it may happen that if you put the mark, they not have a chance to go to further in a ritual impurity. Tziyun mikan letziyun, because the text said the word a sign, we have here an obligation to make a sign to mark each part of the dead body that become ritually impure by this tent that we mentioned earlier. ומצא אבן אחת המצוינת אף על פי שאין מקיימים כן. So we said in that pasuk we learn that one found one mark stone, even though one should not establish it in that manner, which means one not mark a place of ritual impurity with a single stone lechatchila. So he said, "Amahil alea," on that single stone that they have this mark, tameh is ritually impure. Why? Ani omer met haya natun tachtea, because a dead body was under it. There's a different version. There's Pnei Moshe said that it's met metzuyan, which means or met kamtzutz, which means that they didn't bury him properly. They folded his legs on his body, that they put them on the top of his head. So they did it in order to save space, most probably. So he said, Hayush time, if it was two stones with the space between them, Amahila lehen taho. So one who Ma'ahil put the top of them is ritually impure. Because again, we assume that these two stones has a grave in between them, and those stones are in the pure location. Benehem, if you put on the borderline between them, tameh, he is ritually impure, because that was the place of the grave. Im haya choresh benatayim, but and if you were plow marks between them, these two stones, arei hen ki chidot, so they considered like isolated stones with regard to this halakha, and therefore benehen taho, if it's covered the area between the stones with part of his body, he is ritually impure. Ve'al gabehen tameh, and if you cover the space surrounding the area where they are set, he is impure, because it can be assumed there was a source of impurity under each stones. So, Tani, another brighter that relate to that subject. En metzainin al habasar. One does not mark on the location of the flesh of a corpse without any bone. So that's what Rabbeinu Meshulam explains, that you don't mark a place that was buried just a meat without bone. Shema nitakel habasar, because the flesh has decomposed, leaving less than minimum size that confers ritual impurity by covering, which is an olive bark. If the mark is left there, the spot will permanently be treated as ritually impure. Rabbi Yusta bar Shunem be'a kumei Rabbi Mana. He is wandered in the presence of Rabbi Mana. Velo nimtza metamet taharot lemafreya. So you mean to say that you cannot render pure item ritually impure retroactively, because all this time that this meat was not swallow, it basically make ritually impure in that tent, and if you don't mark it, you don't know that we have to avoid from bringing their pure offering. So therefore, if you bring any offering that is pure, it becomes ritually impure. So Gemarrah said, Amar lei, he said to him, Rabbi Mana said to Rabbi Yusta, Mutav shitkalkelu bo lesha'a, which means people who are travelers, it's better that they, preferable that they are harmed by it in a temporary manner, which means until that meat will be digested and it will reduce from the olive bark. So as long as the flesh is still there, it's better not to harm them permanently. So why? Because when they think that the pure food contracted ritual impurity from this source. So the question is, this is the question that the Ritva talk and others, they said eventually people became ritually impure even without knowing it, and then they eat this truma. So he said that that short time in between the burial and digestion of that meat, still people know that there is a dead body there. So if a person passed by that area, they tell him before he eats that truma. But that's, again, it's open subject, and I suggested you should read, if you want to delve with that, just read the Ritva and also the text there in Moed Katan, page 5. The end close of the Mishnah, that's called here Halacha Bet, but in the previous one we said that the agent of the Bet Din, they go around and make sure that people uprooted all the diverse kind they have in their field. After the Bet Din make their proclamation the first day of Adar. So now the Mishnah elaborates and it tells us what exactly the agents did over there when they found the diverse kind. Omar Rabbi Yehuda Barishona says at the beginning, Hayu okrin umashlichin lifnehem. They take out the uprooted dekilaim and they put it at the front of those people. So in other words, it wasn't a special fine, because basically quite the contrary, they can feed that with their animals. They're allowed to derive joy from any diverse kind. The only one you cannot do it is the kilei akerem. But they did it in order to embarrass them. However, misherabu ovrei avira, since it was too many people that transgress this important point of diverse kind, hayu okrin umashlichin ladrachim. They uproot it, and what they do, they throw it out to the road. And then itkinu שיהיו מפקירים את כל השדה. So then the sages instituted that the entire field should be declared ownerless. So they did it, that all the agents who make those fields ownerless, anytime they find some, that's the Chazon Ish explained in the beginning of Kilayim. He says, they want to punish those people, so they declare ownerless the people who didn't uprooted the reverse kind after the original proclamation, the first of Adar. So therefore they didn't make ownerless the field, they make the ownerless that produce that came out of that field. Okay? Let the Gemarrah elaborate on that. Omar Rabbi Yehuda. That's what he said in the Mishnah. Okay? That's the first statement Rabbi Yehuda said. Okay? Now we go how that decree, 3 different decrees of rabbis came about. Number 1. תניא אמר רבי יהודה בראשונה היו עוקרים ומשליכים לפניהם והיו שמחים 2 שמחות. So the emissary of the bedding used to uproot it, and the owner of the field, they have double happy occasions. אחת, שהיו מנקשים שדותיהם. So somebody else do their job. So they're happy that they do it for them. ואחת שהם נהנים מן הכליים. Because they send it and they use it for their animals. משרבו עוברי עבירה. So since they don't have any loss from the waiting for the emissary of the bedin to take out the kilayim, so it was too many people who are lazy. That's the Chazon Ish explains, and they feel okay. Let's the bedin do the other job and remain lazy. היו משליכים על הדרכים. They put it outside in the field, so even animals cannot eat it. ואף על פי כן היו שמחים. Why? שהיו מנגשים את שדותיהם, that they're happy, so because they did a job to pull out the diverse kind. התקינו שיהיו מפקירים כל השדה כולה. So the bed din, the emissary, not uprooted the diverse kind, and they put a decree that all the field became ownerless, meaning not the field, the produce. And until the owner take out the kilayim. If they don't do that, so they can have it back. Otherwise, all the produce ownerless. So minayin shehefker bes din hefker. So how do you know that the property declared ownerless by the rabbinic court is in fact considering an ownerless? Dechtiv, because they said in the book of Ezra, chapter 10, וכל אשר לא יבוא לשלושת הימים, כעצת השרים והזקנים, יוחרם כל רכישו ויבדל מקהל הגולה. So it means that Ezra and his Beis Din said that whoever came out not within 3 days, according to the counsel of the princes and the elders, all his substance should be fortified and himself separated from the congregation of the captivity. So it shows that the court has the power to render ownerless the property of anyone who violates the rules. Ezra and the men of the Great Assembly called upon all the people who gather from exile to gather in Yerushalayim in 3 days. And if you read the book of Ezra, they asked them to megaresh the nashim nochriyot, and then they put a fine for those who didn't come, and they said that all his field, all this property will declare ownerless. So they see that the Bedin has a power, in this case is the men of the Great Assembly to get rid, to make money ownerless. Minayin shiptura min ha'ma'asrot. How do you know that any field that declare ownerless by the Beit Din, it's exempt from ritual impurity? How do you prove it? Rabbi Yonatan Rabbi Yitzchak Baracha shama leminhada. He learned from this writer, En me'abrin et hashana, the Beit Din do not make a leap year in addition of another leap year before the month of Nisan, lo bashvi'it, not in the sabbatical year, in order not to prolong the prohibition of walking in the field that is forbidden in the 7th year. there are several explanations. Aruch Laner said, since the Torah declared them ownerless, so it will not be enough for the people who are going to take it, and therefore it will not have anything for the second day of Pesach, for the Minchat Omer. So there are other explanations, but that's the key. So they said, לא בשביעית ולא במוצאי שביעית, not at the end of the שביעית, since we explained, ואם עברוה, הרי זו מעוברת. If בית דין make it leap year, the 7th year, or the end of the 7th year, it's considering a leap year. וחודש אחד שהוא מוסיף, and another extra month that he add by making a leap year, that instead of Tishrei at the end of Shvi'it, it's Elul of the 7 years, lo patur mima'asrot too, that the field is not exempt from the ma'asrot. For example, if we have an etrog, so the din of etrog in regards to maaser is depend upon when he was collected. If it was collected in Tishrei at the end of the Shvi'it, so he needs to bring maaser. Now when they make a leap year, and this month is Elul of the end of the sabbatical year, so exempt from the Maasrot. So he said, if anyway Bet Din making a ownerless, they make it in the assumption that you will not be exempt from this tie, and the Levi has still maintained the right. So if that's the case, how the sabbatical year in a leap year, if Beit Din make it a leap year, so they don't have another din that exempt all the field from bringing maaser, and the Levites has no longer maintain the rights over that. So for sure you have to say that they declare ownerless of all these field for those people who transgress, and it's also exempted from the tie. So they said nicha. So now we understand why they do it. In the shvi'it, motzei shvi'it menai. So how do you know that that's apply to the end of the sabbatical year? What's the reason that you don't make it a leap year? Amar Rabbi Abahu or Bun, כדי שלא לרבות באיסור חדש. He said, in order to avoid, since we're not allowed to plant and to cut in the sabbatical year, and doing the whole 7 years, and also in the winter of the 8 years, you need to eat from the field that you collected in the 6 years. So until the field that you planted at the beginning of the winter of the 8 years is befitting for consumption, and at the end of the winter of the 8 years it's already the whole field of the 6 years completed. So you cannot make this year a leap year, because this cause to postpone in 1 month the time that the new one can be used. Rabbi Ze'era Beshem Rabbi Elazar, Hada de'at amart, this din that you said, that you not make a leap year for the sabbatical year, it's apply ad shelo hiti Rabbi להביא ירק מחוץ לארץ, that you didn't bring this yerek, which is for sure also the tvu'ah, all the field, because you don't uproot it, you just plow over that. So it's not the same as the regular produce. So he said, מחוץ לארץ, היא שביעית, היא של שאר שני שבוע. So this a proper manner, so the grain is not ready until later anyway, so it's no problem delaying Nisan. So the sabbatical year is like other years of the sabbatical cycle. So we said, Omar Rabbi Mana, Hada de'at amart. Hada de'at amart. So Taneim Nabrim. Okay, Hada de'at amart, this thing that you said, it's that you don't make a leap at the end of the sabbatical year, apply only barishona. That's apply only at first, when the seasons of the year proceeded. Why? Ketiknan, in the proper manner, which means the new grain was ripe in the time and could be eaten immediately after the 16th of Nisan. אבל עכשיו שאין השנים כתקנן. However, now when the seasons of the year do not proceed in the proper manner, and the grain is not ready until later anyway, there's no problem delaying Nisan. Why? He מוצאי שביעיתי שנל שני שבוע. So the sabbatical year is like other years of the sabbatical cycle. Tani, של בית רבן גמליאל עברוה במוצאי שביעית מיד. So they said that the Rabban Gamliel make it as a leap year, that year, immediately after the sabbatical year, the first month of that year. So they said, because Rabbeinu Meshulam explained that Tishrei, that it's already declared that this year is going to have 2 Adarim, like a leap year. Amar Rabbi Avum, in min hada. If you want to bring a proof from this Braita, let at shma mina klum. You cannot learn anything from that, because the leap year, it's not rabbinic decree, but the Torah said it, because you derive it from the pasuk. They said in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16, Shamor et chodesh aviv. You shall observe, you guard the month of the aviv, the spring. Shomreu sheyavo bechidusho. You should guard that the month of Nisan arrive in the spring of the new year, which means Nisan, the lunar year, which is roughly 11 days shorter than the solar year. So if the festival of Pesach is scheduled to arrive too early, do the difference between the solar and lunar years, they must make it a leap year. So they said, V'haida amarda. So the Gemarrah said, they said that this grain that make hefker honorless by the bed din is exempt from the tithe. So how do you prove it from this Mishnah? So the Gemarrah said you can prove it from the Mishnah in Tractate Peah, chapter 5. The Mishnah said as follows: Gadish shelo lukat tachtav. So if it was a pile of grain under which gleaning have not been gathered by the poor who are entitled to take these stalks that fall during the harvest time. So they said, Kol hanog'ot ba'aretz harei hen shel aniyim. So since the owner of the field covered them with all this pile of grain, he covered them. In other words, he is not so happy to give it away to the poor. So the sages put a fine against him, since one of the things that the Torah require to give to the poor, it's leket. You know, you see it, the gleaning with Ruth, right? Mm-hmm. So they put a special fine, and they said that even those on the bottom, those stalks, are already considering, even they touch those leket, it's considering part of that, and all of that belongs to the poor people. That's basically they put a special fine against him. Ve'amar Rabbi Ami. So about this Mishnah, Rabbi Ami said, Gimel Amud Bet, 3b, B'Shem Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, name of Rabbi Shimon, the Beit Shammai. So that's followed Beit Shammai, that they said that the ownerless, that declare that belong to the poor, it's considering ownerless, which means a person can dedicate his field or whatever part he wishes to poor people, and according to that part is belong to them, and they can do whatever they wish to. But since he dedicated to them, So for everyone else, it's considering his ownership, and others cannot derive any benefit from that. So that part that declare ownerless is exempt from tithe, and therefore the sages, according to that view, can make a decree that this stock, it's not considering a leket, and therefore they're not considered a leket by the dry law. Why? Because it's already dedicated to them, right? But they can make it a leket because by the having the bet din making a declaration of ownerless, it automatically became a ownerless for the poor people, and therefore it's exempt from tithe. The same way as a regular leket is considering tithe and exempt from the maaser. Basically, we should know as a side note that whatever the Torah said that you have to live for the poor people in the field, for example, leket, shichecha, pea, all these things automatically is exempt from tithe because it's already ownerless and belongs to the poor people. You derive it from the pasuk in the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 14. They said, "Uba Levi ki en lo chelek v'nachala imach," because the Levi did not inherit any part of the land. So then the same way he can come and pick up. So in that sense, we juxtapose the Levi to all the other poor, and he can collect it. The Ike Beit Hillel. So they said that it will only become ownerless when it's applied to both the poor and rich. So they said aniyim ochlin umeasrin. So the poor people eat the extra shibolim, right? The extra stocks. And that the sages put a decree that it belongs to the poor people, and the poor will be allowed to eat a kernel touching the ground only after tithing. Umeasrin. V'amar Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi said to Rabbi Ami, "Shamanu." We derive that this leket is rabbinic. Patur mimaaser divrei hakol, is exempt from tithe because the sages impose a fine to all. Mishum knasa, even according to Bet Hillel, because it's a special fine that the sages make ownerless for those stocks that touch the ground, and it's considering as a hefker besdin, which means that he's ownerless by the bedin, and is exempt from the tithe. So what do we derive from all of that? We derive from that according to Reish Lakish, or the other way by the Rabbi Yossi, when the Mishnah said it belongs to the poor people, it means also that it's exempt from tithe, because even that belongs to them because it's a hefker bed din. So you derive from that if bed din declares something that's ownerless, is exempt from masor, from tithe. Okay, now we're going to halacha gimel, the third one. Since the first Mishnah teaches that the first day of the month of Adar, the Bet Din declare of all these shkalim, all these treasure, and then they derive all the other things that we are occupying during the month of Adar. Now you return to the subject of shkalim, because that was the centerpiece, the monetary part, the centerpiece of our tractate. So they said, "B'chamisha asar bo," which is 15 months of the month, 15 day of the months of Adar, shulchanot. You know, those tables for people who exchange money, and they have in those days money exchange. It's nothing new. Mm-hmm. So they said, "Ayu yoshvim bamdina." So some said that it's applied to Yerushalayim, some said it's every city in the land. Be-25 yashvu b'mikdash, on the 25th of Adar, those money exchanger, they sat in the Beit HaMikdash, because they come close to the time to contribute for the chamber, which is 1st of Nisan. So the people will be quick to bring their shkalim. Misheyashvu b'mikdash, at the time that dwell in the temple, hitchilu lemashken. So they begin to seize collateral from those who had yet to donate the half shekel. So in other words, anyone who did not pay, the emissary of the Beit Din used to go and take something from his house, like a mashkon. The Binchat Chinuch have a big malach here. What exactly the power of the emissary of the Beit Din had? It's because that it's a monetary obligation that the Torah put upon each person, and therefore his belong for all of that, and therefore they take this mashkon from him as a part of arranging to collect the debt or other way. But anyway, that's if you want to read more, that's the Mincha Chinuch have a long malach, and you can read it there. But the Mishnah continued and said, "Et mime mashkenim," which one they seize collateral. So they said Leviyim veYisraelim, which is only Leviyim and Israelim, but not Kohanim. And he said Vegerim va'avadim shoin convert, and free servants, slaves. So that's applied to Canaanite slave. So he accept upon himself partially. He prepared himself to fulfill the mitzvot, but he was circumcised and dark for the purpose of being servant. So he is, in that sense, the same as Nashim, but then when he is free, he has the same rules as regular ger. אבל לא נשים ועבדים וקטנים, but that's not applied to Nashim, Canaanite servants, slaves and minors.
Bless you.
Thank you. Which means minor is applied to anyone who's below than 20 years of age, even if they have two hair. וכל קטן שהתחיל אביו לשקול על ידו, and any minor that his father start giving half a shekel for him, even originally he doesn't obligated for that, shuv eno posek, so he continued to give it for him every year until he grew up. אין ממשכנים את הכהנים מפני דרכי שלום. You don't do that for the Kohanim. Even the Kohanim is obligated for mitzvah of מחצית השקל in order to have peace, the manner of peace. Don't want to have conflict. And he said, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Yid ben Bukhri b'Yavne. So after the destruction of the second Beit HaMikdash, the Sanhedrin was in Yavne, and Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was the president, the head of the Sanhedrin. They said, Kol Kohen sheshokel eino choteh. Any Kohen that give the מחצית השקל, it's not any sin because he doesn't have the obligation. אמר לו רבי יוחנן בן זכאי לוחי, it's not correct. אלא כל כהן שאינו שוקל חוטא. Any Kohen that not bring a half a shekel is a sinner because they are obligated the same as everyone. אלא שהכהנים דורשים מקרא זה לעצמם. That the Kohanim take from this pasuk for themselves, and it's wrong. Which means they feel that that apply to exempt them from giving. Because the Torah said in Vayikra in Leviticus 6, "V'chol minchat kohen kalil tiyeh lo te'achel." Any mincha offering for the kohen should be bring upon the altar, and you cannot eat from it. So the Kohanim will learn from that, since all is a public offering, it's ours. So if a person is obligated to give half a shekel, we have part of this menachot because they're taking from the chamber that everyone, hey achne chalim. So how you can eat it? Because they have the din of minchat kohen, and therefore it's all because of our part. So since the Torah said that they are eaten, you have to say that the Kohanim does not partake of that. So they said the truth is that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai opposed all of this notion because he said that only mincha offering that the Kohen bring independently, you totally make it hekter. But if they bring this mincha by the public together, even the Kohanim has a part, it's not considering as part of the mincha, and whatever left over is be eaten, because you go by the majority that they are not Kohanim. Ein memashkenin et haktanim. So you cannot memashken, which means everything, but not the ktanim, not the minors for half a shekel. Halitboa tov'in. But the Gemara infers that this indicates that with regard to claiming a half a shekel for minors, the court does claim the money. Hadad teima. This is you derive be-shevishte se'arot. But this halacha, the code does claim the money applies to a young person who has grown 2 pubic hairs. So, and therefore is legally an adult to other respect, but is not yet 20 years old. Before he's 20, he is obligated to donate the half a shekel only by rabbinic law. And for that, the code does not see his collateral. So he said, "Shevishte se'arot, aval lo yevishte se'arot." If it's not to grow hair, so you cannot do it. He said, "B'lemashken," and by taking collateral of the property, "en mashkenin ad sheyavishte se'arot." Is another nusach ad sheyeh ben 20. So you see here that there are 3 different portions. One, until you have the 2 hair, so only obligation is rabbinic, so you don't require from him. Then when you have these 2 hair until you reach age of 20, so it's rabbinic obligation and you go after him, but you don't collateral anything of his property. And then when you have 2 hair and past that age, mi ben 20 shana v'mala, the Torah said in Shmot, in Exodus 30, so they can go after everything. So kinei matnita, that's the way we learned in the Braita. En memashkenin et hakohanim mipnei dargei kavod, which means the Kohanim must be treated with respect. That the way that P is mentioning in the Mishnah. So because usually what happens, you come and you do collection from someone, you create a fight. And we want to avoid all these conflicts between them and all the others. So there is a different explanation what exactly Darkei Shalom. But the key point is for lack of a better term, it's a lack of respect. Omar Rabbi Yehuda Ha'id. So he said, Amar Abrechia, Tama, the reason that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, it's because the Torah said in Parshat Kitisa, in Shmot, Exodus, chapter 30, Ze yitnu. Ze, it's 7 plus 5. Ze, which is 12. Which means, Shneim Asar Shvatim yitnu. Ze yitnu. The 12 tribes, they give a maxit השקל, including the tribe of Levi. That Levi tribes collected, it's collected from them, which is including the Kohanim, and Levim and everyone. So that's the 12 tribes that you have on the breastplate of the high priest. Rabbi Tabi b'shem Rav Amnuna, Ken meshivin chachamim leRabbi Yehuda. Chatat yachid meta, and chatat tzibur meta. So if the sin offering die, so for example the owner dies, so you can. You cannot do anything. So, Lachla Moshe Messina, you to drive it until they die naturally, right? That's a Mishnah in Me'ilah, chapter 10. It says, "En chatat tzibur meta," but if it's a public, it's a different story. So they said, "Minchat hayachid kreva kalil, then minchat hatzibur kreva kalil," which means that if you talk about minchat yachid, so the meal offering for individual, so you can bring it, say, entirely sacrificed on the altar when it belongs to a Kohen. But if it's a communal, so it's not entirely sacrificed, but it's always eaten. So you see here If the Kohen are obligated to contribute half a shekel, this meal offering will partly belong to them, and it's prohibited to eat the meal offering of a Kohen. Vekashya, we ask a question, we challenge these sages to Rabbi Yehuda. Meshivin le'adam midavar she'eno modeh bo. So you said, can one raise a difficulty against a person from a matter in which he does not agree? Why? Detnan shen chatat tzibur meta, Rabbi Yehuda omer tamud. So he said in Yoma 62 that the communal sin offering is not left to die, and yet Rabbi Yehuda says that it's left to die. So Rabbi Yehuda said there's no difference between a community and individual. So he said, Vehu motiv lan. Vehu motiv lan. Rabbi Yehuda respond to that, and he said, this truma zo lara nidvat yachid. You cannot compare to other nedavot that made by individual. Ve'inun metivin le, and we explain between the sages, kevan shenimsera latzibur, because this offering of the Kohanim gave to the public, which means each one of these offering that purchase and that money, kefmi shehu nidvat tzibur. It's considering it's like part of a communal donation. Ktiv, it's written in regard to מחצית השקל in Exodus 30, כל העובר על הפקודים. And everyone who passes among them that are numbered, half a shekel after a shekel of the sanctuary. Rabbi Yehuda ורבי נחמיה, אחד אמר, כל דבר בימה ייתן, anyone who passed the Yam Suf shall give מחצית השקל. וחרנה אמר, and the other one said, כל דבר על פיקודיה ייתן. Anyone who passed by these pikudim, Moshe, he will give a half a shekel, which means those regular Israelites that pass before Moshe, but not Kohanim and Leviim, because he needs to go to their tent and collect them. Man damar kol davar b'maya yiten, the one who said that anyone who passed by the water, he should give a half a shekel, mesayeh alei leRabbi Yochanan. It's you have a proof from the word of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, that you hold that also the Kohanim are obligated. Man damar kol davar al pikudah yiten mesayeh leben buchri. Whoever said at the meaning of the pasuk, anyone who passed with the pkudim, he should give a half a shekel, he hold that the Kohanim and Leviim are exempt. Now Halacha Dalet, the Mishnah. Now we go back to Nashim Abadim and Ktanim, women, slave and minor. Af al pi she'amru, even the sages. Although the sages said, as the status in the previous Mishnah, that the Bet Din and Mashkinim Nashim Abadim Uktanim does not seize for collateral from Nashim in the minor, Aval im shaklu mekablim miyadam. But if they give, we accepting their donation. If they don't, they have the obligation, we accept. So some say that if a minor give a gift, it's not fulfilled biblically. So because Raita is not Bar Kinyan. Right. So the Ksod HaChoshen explained in 235, because the sages put a special decree here that the minor have the opportunity to give, so they make it as a hefker besdin, which is honorless by the bedin, and the one who receive it, he receive it correctly biblically. So that's apply also for the minor. The Mishnah continue, Nochri והקודש ששקלו, אין מקבלים מהם, but Nochri and Kuti you don't receive from them. ואין מקבלים מידן, also you don't receive from them קיני זבין וקיני זבות. It's you don't accept from those, for example, Samaritan pair of birds sacrifice on the purification ritual of the Zav, pair of birds for Zava, the kinei oldot, a pair of birds for women who gave birth, v'chataot ve'ashamot, and a sin, guilt offering. Ze haklal. This is the rules. It says, kol shenidav v'nidav mekablim miyadam. Anything that can be brought to the altar as a vow, as a free will offering, the Kohen accepts from those Nochri or Samaritans, But he said, and to anything that cannot brought, חול שאינו נידר ונידר אין מקבלים ידם, not brought a seva or a free will offering, they may not accept them. וכן מפורש על ידי עזרא, when these Kutim sent that they want to help with the second Beit HaMikdash, because they claim that they worship Hashem, so the Ezra responded to them in chapter 4, and he said clearly, he said to them, לא לכם ולנו לבנות בית לאלוקינו. He says, we cannot do partnership in the building. You have nothing to do with the build a house unto our God. And he said, but we ourselves together will build unto God, Lord of Israel, as the king Cyrus, the king of Persia, has commanded us. That's chapter 4, sentence 3 in the book of Ezra. So you see here that when it's come to their participation with the Beit HaMikdash, he did not accept it. And he said, Ve'elu, page 4, Ve'elu shechayavin bekalbon. So these are the people who are obligated in the premium, the small ad to the half shekel collected. Leviyim, Israelim, Gerim, Vavadim Meshucharim, the Levite, the Israelite, the convert, and release slave, Canaanite slave, and the Gerim, אבל לא כהנים ונשים עבדים מוקטנים, but not כהנים, נשים and Canaanite slave and minor. השוקל על יד כהן, על יד האישה, על יד עבד, על יד קטן פטור. One who contribute a half shekel on behalf of כהן, etc., behalf of women, behalf of slave, behalf of a child, is exempt from the premium, as they are exempt. ואם שקל על ידו ועל יד חברו, but if he contributed on his own behalf and on behalf of another, which means he contributed one whole shekel to discharge both his own obligation and that of someone else, חייב בכלבון אחד, is obligated in one premium. ורבי מאיר אומר שני קורבנות. רבי מאיר said he must pay 2 premiums. הנותן סלע ונוטל שקל, one who gives the collection agent sela, the whole shekel, and takes a shekel, a half a shekel, a change is obligated, חייב שני קורבנות. He needs to bring 2 premiums. השוקד על יד עני ועל יד שכנו ועל יד בן עירו, one who contributed a half a shekel on behalf of resident of his city is exempt from the premium. ואם מלבן, but if he loaned them a half a shekel, chayav is obligated to pay the premium. Why? Because the recipient of the loan must repay the money. It is the half a shekel were paid from the property rather than from the lenders. Now the Mishnah said, Achim Hashutafim, that they have 2 brothers that the partners in the inheritance from their father. So it's fully divided among themselves in all the property of their father. Shechayvin bekalbon, that they are obligated in the premiums like any other 2 private individuals. So pturim mima'asar be'ema, they exempt from the animal tithe from the livestock that they inherited. Why? Because since they have completely divided between them all inheritance assets, they are considered purchases of the livestock, and the purchaser is exempt from animal tithe. וכשחייבים במעשר בהמה, but when they are obligated in animal tithe, because the livestock is considered their father's possession, פטורים מן הכלבון, they're exempt from the premium for the joint payment, because that's what they said earlier. So how much you need to give, וכמה היא כלבון, how much they need to, the premium, מעה כסף, דברי רבי מאיר, רבי מאיר said it's מעה, silver מעה, וחכמים אומרים חצי מעה, a half מעה. So מעה, it's 1/6 of dinar, and dinar is half a shekel. That's in the Talmudic time. First important halacha is tziyun kvarot, the marking of the graves. That's the Rambam, Hilchot Trumat Met, chapter 8. If one finds a grave or any part of a corpse that confers the ritual impurity by means of a tent, which means by entering the airspace over it, or by being in the same roof, he's obligated to mark it so that people will be aware of the source of the impurity. The marker is not placed right over the impurity, but a slight distance to ensure that the item do not accidentally enter into the space that renders them impure. However, the marker should not be located too far away either, so as not to increase the impurity of Eretz Israel, and no mark should be placed in a location that is well known to be impure, but only in doubtful spots. For example, a field in which a grave was lost, or brought of trees and projecting branches over a grave. It's all Rambam Sefer Tahara, Hilchot Tumat Met, chapter 9. Also, another Rambam, Barishona Ayu Okrim, after the court, the rabbinic court, announced the requirement to remove all diverse seeds on the first of Adar, and we explained that the kilaim, that's the obligation to everyone, but people are lazy, so what happened is the Bet Din sent out an agent on the 15th to inspect whether the owner of the fields and roofs had indeed cleared their property of all kilaim, of all diverse kinds. If they found owners who had failed to uproot their plants, the agent uprooted them and cast the prohibited plants in front of the owner. However, this practice placed the owner as it served to clean their fields free of charge. So the sages therefore instituted that any field in which were found diverse kinds with a ratio of one kind to 24 of the other or more should be declared ownerless, and that's the Rambam Hilchot Kilaim, chapter 2. And in that sense, Hefker Bet Din Hefker, a judge has the power both to declare property ownerless and to dispose of or transfer it to someone else as he sees fit, for the purpose of correcting the widespread error or addressing an important matter. This ruling is according to the opinion of Rabbi Yitzchak, and that's the Rambam, Hilchot Sanhedrin, chapter 26. One may not make the ibur, intercalate the sabbatical year, as we said in the Braita. That's Rambam Hilchot Kiddush HaChodesh, chapter 4. Shomreu she'yavo b'chidusho. A year is declared as a leap year by the addition of another month of Adar. The second Adar is added immediately after the first Adar. The reason for that is to ensure that Pesach occurred in spring, because the Torah said, Shamor et Chodesh Aviv, guard the month of the spring, which teaches that the court must ensure that the month of Nisan is in the spring. Were it not the extra month, the season of Pesach will vary, as the festival will occur sometimes in summer, as in the other time in the winter. That's Rambam Hilchot Kiddush HaChodesh, chapter 4. Gadi shelo lukat tachtav. When the owner of a place place a pile of produce on the same spot as glinsing that has fallen to the ground but had not been collected by the poor, and the produce touching the ground belong to the poor. Since it's unknown which of them are gleaning, the halakha follow the principle that all doubtful gifts of the poor belong to the poor. So in that sense, it's an addition. That's a Rambam, Hilchot Matnot Aniyim, chapter 4. The last halakha of today, Mitzvah Hashem, is ב-15 בו שולחנות היו יושבים במדינה. So this is an important halakha. They said the 15th of Adar, money changers set up their table in each reign of the country and gently demand the half a shekel from those who had yet to contribute. They accepted the money from those who gave, but they did not force people to do so. On the 25th of the month, the money changers placed their table in the temple to collect the half shekel there. From this day onward, they demanded the money from those who have yet to give, but they seized collateral from the delinquent to take a pledge even against his will, including their clothes. That's the Rambam, Hilchot Shekalim, chapter 1. It's important to note that when we talk about collateral, the Rambam elaborated and he said that the male from the age 20 upward are obligated to give the half a shekel, including Kohanim, Leviim, Israelim, convert, etc. The emancipated slave. The obligation does not apply to a woman, Canaanite slave, and minor. If any of they gave the half a shekel anyway, the money is accepted from them, but no collateral is taken from the Kohen for the half shekel, because the way want to make peace. Nevertheless, the court demand the money from them until they give it, and their contributions are accepted. That's the Rambam Hilchot Shekalim. The Kohen are obligated to give half a shekel like everyone else, and that's basically Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai reinforced it, so to make sure that they giving the proper one. And we said that in conclusion, we said that the Rambam tells us that when you have a situation like Achim Shutafim, you have two brothers that inherited something, and not yet entirely divided their father estates. If they buy livestock with money from their inheritance, they are obligated to pay the animal tithe for all animal born under the joint ownership. The reason is that the estate is considered a single entity. Once they are divided up to the inheritance, even if afterward they re-established a partnership, they are exempt from the tithe from those animals. This is because the division of the estate is considered a kind of transaction, even if all sides receive an equal share of all type of animals, and the animal's tithe is not separate from the purchased animal. That's the Rambam tells us. But the brother obligation to pay premium, if they have not yet divided the inheritance between them, they are exempt. However, if they are divided, it subsequently renewed their partnership and contributed one whole shekel for both of them, they are obligated to pay a premium. And then the conclusion, if you want to read more, the Rambam Sefer Zmanim, Hilchot Shekalim, chapter 3.